He would have been here, but couldn't get his pant leg over his haircut.
That's why I stepped away.
Alrighty. Okay, call the meeting to order. We're gonna change the order a little bit of the agenda. And first of all, we're gonna acknowledge Sergeant Kearney. Thank you for going to Queen's Park for us, and thank you for showing up at the apartment when you did. Thank you very much. And is there anything you went to Queen's Park to actually get the presentation, was it?
No, it was at
It was at the Liberty Grand.
on the CNE grounds.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
the CNE grounds, yeah.
okay. So what happened there?
The Lieutenant Governor and Solicitor General presented me with the Blue Cross medal for police bravery. In relation to an incident that happened at the end of 2023. That was a pretty special event.
I bet it was, yeah.
There were, I think it was 12 police officers being recognized for heroism. And like the same fire being recognized as well. That was a nice evening. It's very nice. So,
Thanks for standing in for me, Craig, and
Yeah.
congratulations, Josh. I mean, you're downplaying it a little bit, I think.
I think so too.
just an officer doing my job, and there's
Oh, you didn't hear what it was about? Your opportunity to tell the story.
Just like
Which version would you like?
I essentially responded. There was a stabbing downtown that Inspector Matheson and myself first attended to. We cared for the victim, got some medical treatment. We were relayed with some fairly weak information about two suspects in a rental vehicle, so not a lot to work off of. We were initially given the wrong direction of travel for this vehicle as well. So we essentially tried to locate this vehicle, check in hotels, motels, several other addresses that might have been of interest in Owenstown for this vehicle. Ultimately unable to locate it. We believe it left town. A few hours later, we got another call to a mischief to a seniors complex. Glass doors smashed to the building and just significant damage caused to the lower floor of the building. Again, thinking that it could be related, we kind of swept the parking lots in the area looking for this vehicle before entering. We went in. The call was old because a resident who heard the damage being caused, she didn't really alert anybody for almost an hour. So by the time we arrived on scene, the building was pretty quiet. But after being there for a while, processing the scene, the superintendent went to get on an elevator to go talk to somebody on a higher floor. At that time, he rung the elevator. One of the suspects were hidden behind a moving blanket. So they lunged at him, spraying him with bear spray, and they slashed at him with a knife, cutting his forearm. He yelled, and I happened to be around the corner talking to the superintendent who was taking over for him. So I ran around the corner, at which time the suspect was still trying to stab at that victim. So I was able to pull him aside and then engage the accused person, who then started to spray me with bear spray and try to stab me as well. So I drew my firearm and I shouted commands while running backwards, and they chased me a little over 40 feet. I was closing in on the back hallway. I was able to transition to my taser. And it had a very brief window to be able to do that, and I was able to drop that suspect. They had a knife tied to their hand, tried to kick that away, and I pinned that individual. They actually went into a seizure, so I had medical en route, but I still had a second suspect somewhere and my back to a stairwell, so I was trying to cover that provide care to that individual. I had 2 officers now responding. I heard your sirens coming. So we were able to get that suspect out of the building, and then they weren't very cooperative with us. But we did get a set of car keys. We were able to, I believe that was perhaps Spectre that pulled the car keys out. Anyways, we were able to chirp the alarm on the car and it lit up over at the high school. So a couple of us ran over and there was another suspect in the car with 2 knives on their lap, multiple weapons in the vehicle. So we made an arrest on that individual as well. And yeah,
Wow.
essentially, I think between the 2 of them, there was 11 weapons. There was a kit in the trunk that was alarming to police.
Large dog that was
A
on
large dog and some drugs, so.
Oh.
Yeah, no real rhyme or reason why these individuals were in Owen Sound. Over on Fleet here, so.
And
She's from London.
is that case resolved now or still in?
One individual pled disobedience and the other individual is still before the court, so.
Wow.
It wasn't.
Congratulations on the award.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Certainly wasn't your run-of-the-mill call.
No.
And certainly deserved recognition, and we submitted for that recognition quite some time ago, and unfortunately, it was recognized that Josh did an outstanding job on that. It could have ended tragically, no question about that, and all of the things that go along with that, and very, very well handled, very well done, and very worthy of the recognition you received, so thank you. Well done.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now you can go back to work.
Okay.
Thanks, John. Oh. All right, back to the agenda. Called the order now. I'd like to do the land acknowledgement, and I'd like to respectfully acknowledge that we are meeting on the traditional lands of the First Nations and has been inhabited by Indigenous peoples from the beginning. In particular, I acknowledge the history, spirituality, and culture of the territory of the Anishinaabe Nation, the people of the Three Fires known as Ojibwe, and Odawa and the Potawatomi Nation, and further give thanks to the Chippewas of Saugeen and the Chippewas of Nawash, known collectively as the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation, as the traditional keepers of this land. We recognize and deeply appreciate their historic connection to this area, as well as the contributions of the Métis, Inuit, and other Indigenous peoples whose ancestors shared these lands. May we live with respect for each other on this land and live in peace and friendship with all of its diverse peoples. Miigwech. Prior to today's meeting, the board met in closed session to review and discuss matters, and their opinion fell under section 44, item 6, sub-item 1 of the Community Safety and Policing Act, and section 25, item B of the OSPSB General Policy 003, Board Governance, to consider matters regarding board education and training. Moving on to approval of the agenda, I have a couple of items just to talk about on the agenda before calling the question. Item 17D, sorry, 18A, fee schedule. Sorry, Craig, I have to get to that next meeting. My issue with that one, too many other things on the go. And I also like to add the OSPSB minutes to council. This is an issue that Don and Carol wanted to speak to. With those deletions and additions, if I get a motion to approve the agenda. Brian, thank you. Carol, thank you. All in favor? Carrie. Declaration of conflict of interest arising out of the minutes and matters listed on the agenda. Hearing none. Presentations and promotion, deputations, public question period. We have nothing today. Confirmation of the minutes of the public session held October 29th, 2025. I have a motion for that. Marion, thank you.
Certainly.
Mary, thank you. All in favor? Any business arising out of the public session minutes? Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. Thank you.
So I will move it.
Marion moves it and Brian seconded it.
Okay.
Thank you.
So Marion. Mary,
Marion, yeah.
Yeah.
You're.
oh, you got
one-
the square.
I had to read my notes. Moving on, business arising, hearing none. Correspondence received. We have a letter from Georgian College. Catherine Wareham, Facilities, Police Foundation Program, just thanking us for the service of the tour they received on October 15th, 2025. Moving on to,
Just on that, we've been working closely with Georgian College and their Police Foundations program and trying to, to the benefit of both services. And I recently joined the Police Advisory Council for Georgian College. Or Program Advisory Council, I guess, for the Police Foundations program. So
oh, excellent.
Okay.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Like you don't have anything else to do.
that had an extra hour here and there.
That's a nice letter too.
So
Moving on to chairman's report. Earlier this week, Brian O'Leary and I attended the OSPSB meeting, their labor conference, and they had a full slate of speakers and topics such as the how the inspector of policing supports police boards as employers, policing for the future, why innovation isn't optional, measuring the impact of policing, and there was also the plans for 2026 for OAPSB. Brian, do you have anything to add to that for the
Yeah,
side of this?
lots of talk about bargaining and going to arbitration. A lot of boards that were in a different position than us, but we've had really good relations from my experience sitting at the table. And I credit the chief for having such a good relationship with employees here. And so we didn't see anything like that in our bargaining. It was very respectful.
Mhm. That's right. Moving on to governance. I don't have anything in the open session. Hank, do you have anything for open?
I have nothing, sir.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to monthly reports. First one is CIB and drug enforcement.
Okay, so here's some of the highlights of these reports. The homicide investigation, very significant update from October in that the accused, which you have probably read in the media, have consented extradition back to Canada. So making arrangements now to go and retrieve them and bring them back. So it's kind of exciting news for everyone. It's worked a long time on that case.
Just a quick question.
Yeah.
They say they consented to their extradition. Why would you consent back to a country?
I don't know.
Like, what was the alternative?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the answer is. I don't know if Chief has heard anything different.
They could have continued to
Be held.
fight it and it would have dragged on. And I'm not sure what the purpose or why they decided it was time and but they consented. And then the Scottish ministers had to approve they actually had to approve that they consent to be here. So that's now happened as well. We're arranging for the return and there'll be some investigative costs associated with that to the board, just as an FYI.
Okay, good, thanks.
You're welcome. Yeah, it'll be good to get them up to our courts. I reported on a sexual assault investigation that was ongoing last board meeting. And just as a way of, I'll point you to a quick update that the suspect in that investigation has been identified through a photo lineup procedure. And they've been arrested, facing charges of sexual assault and sexual interference. And the criminal investigation is investigating alongside the fire marshal. A fire that took place at Kelsey's restaurant. Investigation's ongoing. Some other information contained in the report, including meetings that were attended, as well as some drug overdose information. We're currently on pace to see a significant reduction in drug overdose deaths this year, which is pretty good news, obviously. We're still sitting at 4, which is still 4 too many, but in reference, we had 14 last year, so we haven't had one for several months, so that's a very positive sign.
That's a trend across province too.
Moving on to the auxiliary report. Auxiliary members of the service contributed a total of 238 volunteer hours in October. We had 7 new members join our service and graduated on October 20th. And they were first deployed during the Santa Claus parade as their first detail. They also assisted
Barry,
patrols.
Barry, you had a question?
Yes, can you tell me what the complement is now? Total,
I don't have that information. Do you know that, Chief?
I think it's 17 now.
I was gonna say 19, but yeah, okay. Team. I can get that information for you.
Yeah.
Yes,
Sure. You mind just going back to the drug overdose?
Sure.
For a moment. What I really appreciate from all of the information that we get as a board is the analytical component. It's not just the raw data, but it's the analytical component, and I find that extremely helpful. However, sometimes it's a matter of putting the pieces together. So the drug overdose death are down.
Yes.
But in another section, calls for service is a statistic that's reported on. Be helpful to know calls for service for overdoses, not ones that result in deaths, but to be able to have that as an analytical comparator, because it does impact workload. And what we've heard around the table is the calls for service have increased. And to be able to correlate what's happening in our community around overdoses. We've captured deaths, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the calls for service for overdose related issues has also decreased. I would appreciate, if it's possible, perhaps that analytical correlation be incorporated in future. I know it's there, but to draw them together, it's that matching piece, but maybe I'm asking.
So,
and just, I just want to say,
sure.
we might be getting 1/3 of the picture.
Yes,
How many overdoses does fire attend? Not knowing that there's quote that there's a problem. EMTS goes
Yes.
out, or ambulance, sorry, SOS goes out. So I'm not sure, and maybe I'm wrong, but are officers called to every suspected overdose or drug?
Yes.
Every.
We would be at most. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'd be at most. The difficulty is the classification of the call type.
Yes.
Because if there isn't a specific overdose call type in the statistics, so, and even if there was, it's not gonna always be classified as that, because EMS may call us for an assistance for their safety and want us to attend. It may come in as a check well-being for somebody on the street, because they've been sitting there for quite some time. It may come in as a disturbance at a location, and the disturbance turns into an overdose, and now they're no longer a disturbance, but stress. So there's no real one call type that you say this is, and they're not closed in that call type because it doesn't exist. So it would require a lot of screening across all the different call types, reading all of them and saying, okay, is this an overdose or is that not an overdose or drug poisoning? I prefer that one.
Yeah, that's the expression you've been acting right now.
We should actually update the report, reflect that.
Moving on to core unit. Core unit engaged in 15.5 hours of foot patrol. Downtown area. And it looks like they had 1 provincial offenses charge. There's a list included in the report of several businesses in town where the core unit officer has focused attention in regards to ongoing either areas of need or complaints that have been received. So they're included there for viewing. The core officer was used a great deal in October to cover platoons during training. And they attended some events for Special Olympics as well as the Georgian College Police Foundation students. Bail compliance and warrant apprehension unit. That unit made 6 warrant arrests, laid 5 criminal charges, as well as conducted 10 compliance checks on persons currently on release for criminal and sexual offenses in October.
So just to highlight, one of the reasons those numbers are quite a bit lower than other months is that the members temporarily assigned uniform patrol and CIB to accommodate for resources, so you won't see the same numbers as you would on normal.
Yeah. Moving on. The frontline patrol report and collision statistics. A couple things to highlight on this report. The criminal code offenses came in at 210, which is, you can see that last October it was 109. So that's a continued trend that we've been highlighting in the last few reports about just how busy frontline officers are and the number of charges that are being laid on a daily basis. And then the other one we talked about at the last board report as well was the court security hours for our part-time members. You can see it's 216.5 hours of armed police officer security at the court that we are otherwise not required to do, as the chief mentioned in the closed session. Other statistics are fairly consistent, but I did want to highlight the criminal code charges are quite high again. Rides, there were 8 ride checks conducted in October with a total of 199 drivers checked. And there were 4 impaired drivers charged in October in the city. Moving down to collisions. Collisions were down a little bit month over month. But again, fairly consistent across the board compared last year. Nothing really sticks out in terms of a significant increase or decrease in any category. Too much.
Variant.
Question regarding collisions.
Okay.
When you notice that there's collisions consistently at a certain intersection or something, how does that get conveyed to the city regarding the roads?
I just what's the report? I just received a report with the top
Proms.
intersections. That's through Croms, right?
Proms report.
Yeah, they'll give us a report on where the worst intersections are for collisions. I
You,
think in the last year it was 10th and 4th Avenue West or East, pardon me.
so at what point does something get done about that intersection?
I don't know the answer to that.
So the copy of the report, a copy of the locations and time of day and all those things go to the city. What they do with that, as far as the engineering side of things, is really out of our hands. We just provide them with the information as that's it.
I think the other one is 9th Avenue and 16th Street too, if I remember right.
Yeah.
Yes. So it goes to the city manager or the Director of Public Works.
It was engineering, it was Chris Webb, but I'm not sure who's it's gone to now, so. It gets passed along.
So through operations, do you see those reports?
In the past, it has been addressed in conversation and operations through Clara Whitfield.
The
Since
director?
my time, yeah, the director, since my time starting with the board, I know that it's been addressed. I think the important part is also, as we move forward with traffic studies, that this information is critical to have. But I know, because the discussion has also been, sometimes the accidents occur broad daylight. And there's been conversation around the committee trying to analyze what's happening. Why are these things happening when the weather conditions aren't necessarily a contributing factor? I think it would be really helpful even I don't know if this goes on a regular basis, but to
It's quarterly.
quarterly, okay, all right. Go directly to city manager and the director of operations, I think, and I'm not sure if that's your normal pattern of distributing information.
So Director of Public Works and Engineering, meaning Lara, and the city manager.
Yeah,
But at what point do the police say to the city, something has to be done about this intersection? Or does that ever happen?
From my past experience, police were more involved with those discussions and were invited to a table to sit down and go over those things. There was a traffic committee and to discuss problem intersections and address complaints and, you know, neighborhood complaints, speed complaints, stop sign complaints, all of those things to come up with a method of dealing with that. But my experience locally isn't, that doesn't exist if there's no input.
I think it's important to bring forward as an agenda item for sure through operations. So there is an agenda setting meeting that happens with the chair of operations committee as well. So I think this is an opportunity to make sure that, I mean, it's critical information. People drive our roads all the time, and we get extra people during the weekdays as well. So I think ensuring that communication goes to Laura Whitfield, certainly the city manager, the chair of operations, and it should be part of conversation brought up through operations committee. I know it had been as an item in the past, but I don't know if it's a routine part of that.
So can you bring that forward to operations then?
I can say if the board wishes, I'm happy to email and Deputy Mayor Scott Gregg is actually our current chair. So I think he should be in the picture as well. Is it appropriate for me to take that forward, or should that be a request that comes through the board?
I would think that you could do that as council representative on the police board.
The collision report to be part of the agenda for operations for conversation on an ongoing basis.
Yeah, and that may spur a whole new conversation about where it is and why haven't we been getting it.
Yeah.
You might want to look back too, because I think those two intersections there been consistently a problem.
Mentioned 10th and 4th and 9th and 16th.
But I think it's a bigger conversation than that, in the fact that it's fine to have the report, but that only provides you with the action of the collision discussion piece. It doesn't provide the insight as to the complaints that we get from the community and the locations of those complaints and all those other things that should really be addressed as a traffic committee involving all the stakeholders, and it doesn't exist, and I think it needs to.
So this may also be an opportunity. I think we're going to maybe touch base, but we know the city is reviewing all of its committee structures and committees, and this might be timely to offer a suggestion from the board that a traffic committee would be helpful. We know that provincially the speed cameras, not that we've had them, but have been eliminated, and the emphasis is on traffic calming, especially in school zones. There may be opportunities for funding, that could happen around traffic calming measures. And the traffic committee may be a vehicle, pardon the pun, to be able to move that forward. So again, I go back to, I'm happy to mention about the collision reports, but the request for a traffic committee consideration, should that come from the board or the chief of police? I don't want to overstep my role as a council member.
I would ask that it be minuted that this conversation took place, that there seems to be a lack of traffic, addressing traffic issues between police and the city. So if it's minuted, then it's brought to the attention.
We regularly pass along the concerns that we get.
Yes. But it's not
Regularly,
addressed
we've
by the
regularly
city.
suggested traffic calming measures in certain locations and suggestions on changes to stop signs and different things, and, you know, four-way stop as opposed to a two-way stop in order to slow things down and minimize the severity. If there's gonna be a collision, the severity is gonna be reduced, because of the speed being lower. We've passed all that information along, and it's the implementation, it's the side of getting something done with it that there's a gap.
That's right.
So,
And the complaints that you receive.
so I think certainly, timing often is everything. Because we're considering it, then I agree with minuting it. My question is, should a letter come from the board requesting consideration when as the new committee structure is being evaluated, recognizing the importance of this committee and community safety?
Is the new committee structure being evaluated, or the term of the current members?
I think there's an overview of the.
There
whole
Okay.
There is,
community.
yeah.
So committee.
But
So
I
this-
don't know that that's police boards bailiwick to really do that. I think it's incumbent upon the council members to bring it forward to council.
Yeah.
Or staff saying that this is not being addressed.
Yeah, I think,
Yeah.
you know, the report that you're getting at the operations committee, that will spur more conversation, which would segue into the traffic committee. That would do it.
Suggest we're doing our part, in getting the information there. If there's a request from the city to have input and do more with it, we'd be happy to assist with that, but I don't know that we move that forward.
Yeah.
Police
But
side.
I think when the city boards and committees are being considered, it's incumbent on us to say that this is not being, and where is, yeah, okay. Sorry to.
Yeah, no, that's good.
I've got a question before, Inspector, the four impaired charges, are they directly related to RIDE program? Or not?
Actually, none of those came from rec this month. Yeah, they were from calls for service.
Okay, thanks.
Proactive. Yeah. No problem. So the report of the community services officer is a little bit lean in that he was off for 2.5 weeks due to surgery. But he's back working more regular hours now. Did maintain our social media presence while he was off. And attended a few meetings that are highlighted in the report. Training report. Sorry. So we had an officer attend the Crimes Against Women conference. And an officer complete the major case management course. And many of our frontline officers completed the new niche training, the niche update. We had a child passenger safety technician, one of our auxiliaries completed that training. We had 2 members attend the incident management system 200 course, which is a prerequisite for incident command. And 1 officer attend Canadian Criminal Intelligence System course. That's it.
Thank you. I'll move on to lost hours. Some good news for this report. We saw a 42.9% improvement to lost sick hours this month compared to the previous month. And that translated into a 7.2% increase overall year to date. With the WSIB lost hours, we saw a 49% improvement in October of this year compared to last year. And in the previous month, it was 100% improvement, and that's due to people now returning back to work, which I'd already alluded to earlier. Just a quick update on WSIB. We still have 1 case involving a full-time member that's pending final resolution. We had 1 SIB claim involving a part-time member, which has been resolved, and the member will be returned to full duties. We have 2 part-time staff off on medical leave relating to personal injuries. One member returned to work in November. The other member doesn't have a return to work date established yet. Any questions on lost hours?
I'm just gonna point out that there should still be one full-time member off. I don't want to repeat it, but there still remains one off WSIB
Yes, one full-time member off.
as opposed to 0.
Had we found resolution, my apologies for that. Yeah, there is one. I'll follow up now with report from records, courts, and bylaw. Our bulk records checks this month compared to the previous month are down. And overall year to date, also down. The number of bulk record checks that we completed are highly dependent on our third-party agencies that post those checks from us. So it depends on the amount of business that they're involved in and then pass that on to us. So we're highly dependent on them for that. Number of executed warrants for this month compared to the previous month is down 14.5%, and year to date is 7.8%. The execution of warrants is highly dependent on officers coming across an individual who's wanted, either receiving a call for service or engaging a person in the community through a traffic stop. So it's really contingent on the officers contact with someone who is wanted. Those numbers are just down a little bit. I can't really elaborate further on that. Persons charged though for the month of September increased by 16%, and overall it's a 3.2% increase year to date.
Mary,
What does the asterisk mean beside persons charged? What's the significance of the asterisk?
That's a good question. I'm not sure. Chief, do you? I don't know if there's
Where are you seeing that?
just on the
Beside the
page.
persons charged
I don't know why.
in the report?
I'm not sure why it's still there. I think it referred to a reference in a previous
Okay.
report. I think.
I'll check with Krista and just.
Okay.
That's what it was, and well, the executed warrants, some of that is what I mentioned during the BCWA, the staffing wasn't there, they were pulled to the front line, so there wasn't a concerted effort out there looking for on warrants. So.
Thanks, Chief. The number of persons in custody transported increased with the OBP with OSPS. Video appearances also increased as well as special constable hours for the month of September, and they're all significant increases. So it's going to show you how busy the courts have become. You'll note specifically special constable hours went up 20.7% this past month, and year to date that's gone up 12.6%. And as the chief had explained, due to the changes now in the courts and having to provide armed officers at the courthouse, that's resulted in a higher number of hours for officers as well as for special constables to ensure that the appropriate security is being provided.
So right now, over the summertime, the Superior Court of Justice isn't the busiest of courts. But now they're ramping up, and they're like just this past week, I think there were 3 jury trials on the go at one time. And so the number of officers or the number of special constable hours reflect that increase, and and many of the jury trials, the individuals are deemed to be, they're in custody, but they don't want to appear to be in custody, so we have to put double up and put 2 special constables into a courtroom just to cover that off. And as well, the jury trials are very lengthy, so that's why you're seeing that increase, and they've appointed another Superior Court Justice to the courthouse. So the number of hours sitting in court and the number of the actual appearances are going up, and that reflects that.
When you're dealing with a Walkerton court issue, as far as coverage of officers or charging of time, court hours, etc., does Walkerton contribute to any of that?
It gets transferred here, and it's by the justice, and no, they don't. There was one significant matter that's just coming to wrap up now that has been going on for I can say, I think it's supposed to, so when it's a jury trial, self-represented individual, I'm keeping track of all of those, but also, we also found out late last week that there's been a couple of other matters transferred from Washington Court because the facility, the facility isn't appropriate for security. And so we're gonna be tracking those as well, and you know, just to come up with some type of report to say Bruce County doesn't have an appropriate facility and it's impacting our court security budget as a result of that. So they're saving on the fact that they're not investing in the courthouse, and they're saving on the fact that they don't have to hear the matters because of that. I know I brought it up when I brought up the Ministry of the Attorney General, and it was crickets, and they said to contact the Soljan's office, and I said it's not a Soljan issue, it's a mag issue, and so I plan on sending them a bill for the one matter and bringing to their attention that it's ongoing, and there's been a number of others. I'm sure that's not gonna go over well and paid, but I just want to highlight
Like the
that. And explain that it's not appropriate.
Especially when it's a different county.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
One of the matters that was transferred over, I can't say anything about because it was our charges that there was drug charges, and our stopped them over in Southampton or Port Elgin, I forget which it was.
Port Elgin.
Port Elgin.
Yeah.
And so the charges were laid over there, but it was all of our work, all of our investigation. So that one, we have to kind of wear that one in back here, but the others that don't have anything to do with us, we're keeping track.
Thanks.
All right, now moving on to the report from our communication center. Our communication center operates as both a primary and secondary police public safety access point. And 70% of the calls, 911 calls that we answer are transferred to another PSAP. While we deal with about 30% of the 911 calls with OPS specifically. There was a 3% decline in 911 calls coming into our communication center in October. This is kind of anticipated and expected just from a decreased number of calls with the weather changing, the summer months ending, and moving into the fall months. Just there's not as much requirement for police involvement. Population drops during that time period. The average daily rate of 911 calls dispatched by our communication center is also down. Again, seasonal reasons for that. So far in 2025 compared to the same time in 2024, there are year-to-date increases in 911 call volume in all streams except the non-answerable 911 calls. The rate of incoming 911 calls is up 5.4%, and the rate of answered 911 calls is up 6.1%, and transferred calls to 6.6%. The number of 911 dispatch calls, again, it's up 3.9%. So we're seeing increased call volume across the board. The average daily dispatch rates for all services dispatched by our communication center dropped in October from previous months. And again, that was expected due to seasonal reasons. The year-to-date comparison from 2024 to 2025, our communication center is recording a 5% increase in the average daily dispatch rate. So overall, more calls for service coming through being processed by our center.
And on most of the dispatch contracts that we have, so increased numbers would mean increased income, correct?
That'd be a chief question
Okay.
there.
No, it's just speed per population because there's no way of knowing what the numbers
Oh,
are
you
gonna
can
be
do
up or
guesstimate
down.
it, yeah.
So,
Okay.
We have to based on population.
Okay.
Just moving on to the update from information technology. As the board is aware, we implemented NG911 this past Tuesday. So previous month was spent by our IT services prepping for the go live date, which was successful on Tuesday. IT has also been involved in a refresh project and completed with radio vendors for the police services of Port Hope and Coburg for life cycle of equipment. And additional radio infrastructure, which we call repeaters, were installed at Bright Shores Hospital to address gaps in communication with our radios and our communication center. So that's been addressed and dealt with.
There was a significant officer safety in the fact that as soon as you walk through the emergency doors where you're 90% of the time gonna be police responding, there was. So we upgraded the radio coverage by putting a repeater equipment inside the hospital, working with Bright Shores to get permission to do that. So now the coverage in both in that area is significantly improved. Just a comment on the NG 911, significant venture. I want to recognize publicly all the work that was done by all of our communicators and all the training and all the planning that went into that significant switchover, and for our IT to manage to get that done and implemented. Really no major hiccups, and there were some small minor things, but as far as delivery to the public and what people would have been calling in on 911, they wouldn't have noticed any difference on the front end. So kudos to everybody involved. Some great work by those involved to get that done and working properly. The new NG 911 system will allow us to capture more data as well. So this report will probably change, but we probably won't change it until January, just because we'll need a couple of months to see exactly how that data, what data is available, how we're going to present it, what's going to happen with it, make sure it's reliable data before we switch over. But it better tracks the administrative side of the phone call system. Like we give you the 911 side, the number of calls and how they go and what happens. This will give us a lot more data and information on the administrative phone lines and how they're handled, what goes on with them.
Thank you, Chief. Moving on to our Human Resources Report for October 2025. We continue to process incoming applications of the ones that we reviewed for that month that the candidates were deemed suitable to continue on in the process. We are trying to attract more attention to our service through sponsoring an Indeed ad for new constables as well. As you know, on our website, we constantly have notifications there that we are looking to attract new candidates for the constable position. We did host a community open house at Bayshore on the 20th. However, there was just limited attendance by members of the public to that. We did conduct interviews of 4 Yippee students. Starting with us November through March, working an average of 4 hours per week. The benefit of the Yippee student program is that sometimes these students become prospective applicants in the constable process as well. So a very worthwhile venture. Some positive news in terms of being able to hire a social media specialist. So we hired Callie MacArthur as a part-time person to help us with our social media. She has a background in journalism, social media, and websites, and she's only been here a short period of time, but doing a tremendous job already.
And I'll just point out that's a grant funded position, so
Okay.
it doesn't affect the budget of taxpayer.
And Drea Hakish was the successful candidate in a permanent communicator position at the Communication Center recently. And we're currently looking into the functionality of a software program called Cloud OSL. It's an administrative software that helps with specifically training and quartermaster stores, but they're also looking to develop this product into human resources type needs in terms of onboarding and tracking personnel information for members throughout their career. So we've had a couple of demonstrations by that company. It's looking very favorable to us, and we've had input from the different areas in our organization that would be benefiting from receiving this kind of software to manage their needs. With the implementation of Microsoft 365, HR is working with other departments across the area, and we're just looking to determine what that is going to look like in terms of developing architecture for storing and accessing data in a common place as opposed to on different drives or folders and that sort of thing. So it'll be more of a centralized place for data, so it's accessible to the areas as well as the members. Those are my updates.
Thank you. Moving on to item 15, I guess it's. Thanks from the chief.
Sorry, I've been away last night, but date before in the board on the financials year to date. And right now, you're estimating that it'll probably be over budget by about $50,000 at the end of the year. But there's a number of things in there that we haven't finalized, but some of those changes need to be reflected there. We'll see where we end up, but I just wanted to give her basically the end of October. Is there any question?
That's 50,000 on a $8.9 million budget.
I think it was about 9 million.
Right, yeah. So it would hardly move the needle as a percentage. Percentage over, yeah, okay.
So the operating reports, my activity report, you'll have for September and October because I didn't get September done last time. I've been injured and off, I missed some time. So, but I only did miss 3 days. So we had a number of swearing in and brought a number of new people in to the organization. And you can see the rest of the things we spent a couple of days at small and mid-sized chiefs meeting in London with Inspector Doherty as well. OPC March Past was the day after, so that worked out well. I was already down there. And then some significant time that, and it's probably underestimated, but doing budget prep and meetings for the month. And then moving to October, a little more time off, grant writing and discussions, and then some meetings with the city, community drug and alcohol strategy. Took a day and went with the Royal Canadian Navy on the Margaret Brook when it was here, and it's a bit of a team building exercise for our senior leaders, those that could make it. And then there was an OSPSB zone meeting. It was a day at the 4th annual Rural Response to Femicide Prevention Forum in Clinton. It was our staff appreciation event that our executive assistant did an amazing job of organizing and pulling off, and thank you for that. Yes.
Good job.
That's by no means a full report of what I actually do. I'm just, that's some of the different
highlights.
So yeah. I guess the next one's yours.
Okay, all right. So moving on to other business and new items. Item number 8, fee schedule and bylaw, we're moving to December. And follow up from the facilities review meeting that was with the city. That happened just after, I guess, our last meeting. And is there anyone's got a report on that attended the meeting, or?
I don't, like, do you want to speak on what was done for the inspection on the following Monday from that meeting, or?
So we did get some results, and they came in and did some inspections for the mold situation within the building. Late last week and early this week. I don't know, there's Friday or Monday, I got a report from the contractor who came in to do that, and there was mold and there are mold issues. They believe that they're contained to certain areas, and there's a remediation planned. And I'll be sharing that report with the Joint Health and Safety Association. Wendy was off last week. I guess it came in Friday, so and then I haven't been back since then. So there were issues, and there were some that were not good for you, but they weren't yourself in the building type of faults. They have to be dealt with properly, and remediated properly, but it wasn't like a nothing situation.
There's the cost of that mold remediation.
It's a city facility, and we're the tenant, so much like the facilities level agreement that we were looking at. I don't know where that goes, but I'm sure it's somewhere. It's a leasing cost on the financial information report because it's a cost of this building, and then that gets reflected on police costs.
They also talked about that meeting, they were going to review facility, building management of building facility agreement?
Yeah.
Did they provide us with a draft yet, or?
There was a draft of an old one, we haven't sat down and gone over any of that, was proposed. Like I said, it's has to be followed up on.
But it's being driven by the city then, is it, or?
That's what they were hoping to,
Okay.
come up with some type of a service level agreement, facilities level agreement, so that, you know. It's difficult because right now, there aren't the staff, they don't, you know, if there's an issue, we have to identify the issue. We have to follow up on it, you know. I know that the deputy, last month. Said there's some light bulbs out, and the answer was, well, could you tell us how many and where they are? And started going through the building upstairs, and there were 32 that were burned out, and then went, this is ridiculous, this is my whole day, and I get, like, I don't have time to be finding
So-
light bulbs that are burned out.
Is this a special skill set that officers have that building people at city wouldn't have?
I guess it's just a matter of nobody has time to do it, and he could count and tell them that they didn't have enough light bulbs.
Hey, it just seems
They didn't have
ridiculous
enough
that-
light bulbs anyway.
Okay. Anyways. All right, anything else to update us on the follow-up on the facility review? Is anything else coming about that?
Just want to clarify, who will be who will follow through to make sure that that conversation about the service level agreement is sparked to go forward?
I guess the rest of go back. And sit down with the city and we'll get it resolved. Agreed to.
I wonder what happens in other buildings. If it would be interesting, but I think certainly this is an important issue for sure. Even as an interim understanding of responsibilities and roles around basic maintenance upkeep for a facility that's rented by.
And I think we might be a little different than other ones, because I'm thinking of the places like the Bay Shore. That's really the city, like we don't have a tenant.
The Billy Bishop or the Waterfront Center. The Y.
Billy Bishop.
Yeah. Off the top of my head, I can't think, but if Billy Bishop board or management determined there were things lacking in the agreement, then they would address that to the city, so.
But I'm thinking if there needed light bulbs replacing, would they have to?
Who's the maintenance person for the city? They're the persons that should be doing that. And I think the board can certainly send something to the city saying there's a concern that the deputy chief was the one responsible to count the light bulbs. Well, that's ridiculous.
And I think the chief has expressed that a number of times.
Yeah.
That's been passed along, and I will cut them some slack right now because they are short-staffed, one of their members being off. But in general. But in general, I think it comes down to who should be going and doing that general walkthrough and identifying what needs to be done. Probably shouldn't be a police officer.
No.
But it needs to be done, so it's historically been police.
The only other thing as a concession I can see is if you ask everyone in a particular department to count how many light bulbs are in their department, then compile this.
Just another level of administrative work.
I know,
It's
it's not something they have to do or should do.
yeah. Because if there was another tenant in here, depending on who the tenant is, they wouldn't come in because it wouldn't be acceptable. But I'm sure another tenant would say, that's my job. And I think this with this building facilities agreement might flush out.
Hoping to make sure that identifies the role as what.
For sure.
Mhm. If it doesn't, it should.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then there's the enforcement and monitoring of that agreement thereafter. All right, moving on. Next one up, New police facility. I think we talked about this briefly at our last open session meeting back in October. And what, I guess coming out of that, what I'd like to propose at this time is we talk about forming a building committee rather than, and be a committee of the board rather than just the board. We should have members outside for the board, so it continues on after a board member's term expires and it's not renewed. We then have some continuity and at least a core for this new committee. I think what we need to do is establish that we are going to have a committee, and then members of the committee would then get together and draft what the function of that new committee would look like, whether it's a new facility or reassessment of the current facility or what we're going to do. But I think we need to establish that there's going to be a new facilities committee. Say new, it could be redesigned or whatever it may be, but I think the motion to at least create that and then try and identify who would sit on that from outside of the board and inside the board and have that done sometime in early 2026. Okay, Carol?
I'm happy to make that motion for
Okay.
us to go forward. Your phrasing about a police facilities committee, I think it implies it could be, there's other options besides one particular building. So I like the phrase facilities
Mhm.
committee, and I'm certainly happy to make that motion.
Seconder for that?
Sure.
Sure, fine.
I think it's important to note, if I can mention,
Mhm.
that the first start would be a needs assessment. Identifying what's not accommodatable here at this facility and deficiencies, maintenance issues, all of those things.
Correct, exactly. And I think maybe mentioned this at the last meeting. There are a couple of other municipalities who are doing the same thing right now, Hanover and West Gray. And it may be advantageous if we took a look at their playbook, for lack of a better term, and see where they started off from, steps that they took. We don't have to follow it exactly. We can modify it to our own needs. But again, it will probably serve the same purpose as what you're looking for.
Never hurts to network.
Exactly. And there could be other one. Sarnia was another one they talked about.
So-
We need the super ship though.
So at what point are you looking for recommendations for a committee?
As soon as possible.
At the next meeting?
Yeah, or you can send them in prior to, and then we can discuss them at the next meeting. But if you have people in mind that you think you would like to have on the committee, then definitely let's send them forward to me. And then we can figure out how many, whether 30 people is too many from the committee or what it may be. Go ahead.
Just to add on to that, from your perspective, are you thinking of a certain ratio or proportion of public versus board versus others? Like, I'm just curious to know composition wise, if we're going to be bringing forward names, what categories to look for and what ratio.
I guess what I'm looking for is the people that are outside the board that are going to bring a certain skill set that's going to add to a new facility assessment.
So it would be board representation, council representation or not?
That's not at this point in time.
Okay.
I think it's, I don't want to be, it's, yeah, and
Yeah.
the only reason I say that is I think that we need to do the needs assessment first. And I think the committee should be made up of the public.
Yeah.
And what skill sets from the public should have, or what skill sets do we need as the board to move forward with the needs assessment and all of those things?
Yeah. So that helps to answer.
And there will be some staff, I would think, on the committee.
Oh, yeah.
So the other category or component is to also look at not just names, but appropriate group representation to participate. So that as we move forward, we approach this cultural sensitivity issues as well, because so I think having that broad approach will be really, really important. So do you wish to have And then names from those individuals as well, so that it can be a robust approach to this.
I think we-
might suggest.
Yeah, if we bring put forth the names as you think of them, and then we can discuss them at your either December or January meeting, depending on.
So it would be by invitation, the public?
Yes, I think so, yeah.
Sure.
Yes,
Might want to look at section 42 sub 3. It's a composition of board committees,
Mhm.
and you have two, at least 2 members of the board.
Oh, yes, yes,
There has to be a majority, board has to maintain a majority membership.
okay, thank you.
It might limit your outside participation as well. That's 42 sub 3.
Okay. So by the sounds of that, then it would have to be limited to 4 additional.
I'm thinking that's.
So at what point are you looking for nominations for board members?
As soon as you can provide them, I think, so we can get them lined up. First of all, you should contact whoever you're going to think of nominating, make sure
Board
they send.
members, I'm saying.
Oh, well, based on what Hank has just said there now, we're probably looking at. If we have to have board majority, then we need all the board members to have 4 people on the committee.
You don't want too many.
Well, that's only 9 total.
Only 9 is a lot,
I'm just,
in my mind.
I'm just looking
But you've
at,
got staff as well.
right, but they're the boards, but then I think we need the staff. Because they're gonna help us with the needs
Mhm.
assessment in the biggest way.
So that would mean that depending on how you. Council worker, we're part of the,
Council is not part of this
we are
committee.
just city representatives on this. That really changes the number and composition potential for that will, sure,
In what way?
important, so. It's good to know the legislative requirements as we forward as well, so. You're thinking on a max of 4 invitations?
Mhm.
Thank you.
I just to clarify with our administrative advisor, the police members wouldn't be members of the committee, they'd be a resource, ex officio to the
Right.
committee, so.
Yeah.
And I mean, the same thing for staff as well. Staff may be.
Yeah.
Supporting committee members.
Yes, but it wouldn't be wouldn't form part of the committee, so that doesn't.
You just support to the community,
Yes.
for sure, just like your support to the board.
It's good to.
Because I certainly don't want to be the one that signs the needs assessment or determines what the needs assessment is for Craig, because I'm sure
No.
he's got different ideas than I do.
So our role is to think of and
Yeah.
to suggest 4.
And thinking the type of the skill sets of the person you would want.
Thank you.
Okay,
All in favor?
There's no more.
well, yeah, no, yes. They've already made the motion, all in favor? There. Thank you. What name is CSPA aggregate disciplinary report?
Yeah, so I'll cover that off. So one of the requirements under the new not as new, but under the CSBA that wasn't there under the PSA. Is to report biannually, have it posted to the website by December the 1st of June 1st and December 1st of every year. Aggregate discipline report of the CSBA. So as you can read in the report, it outlines the specific sections of the act and how that relates to it. Lays all that out, and at the end. During the time the chief of police imposed a disciplinary measure requiring a report into the section on one occasion, and that was an officer was found to have committed misconduct under section 12(1) of the Safety and Policing Act Code of Conduct for Police Officers. It's not allowed in the course of the duties to use abusive language with any person or otherwise treat any person in a manner that is abusive. And disciplinary measure of 8 hours forfeiture time off was imposed by myself pursuant to section 201 of the CSPA. And that report will be posted to the website by December 1st. That's why it was brought to this meeting. That was the only incident.
Did we find a place that might be appropriate to put it on the website?
It's okay.
It's
They're
already
up
there, okay. So we did find a place that was appropriate, yeah, okay. Good. All right, so that's dealt with. Item E, citizens on patrol. Retirement of the unit.
Yes, I'll speak to this, Deputy Bishop's away, but we met with Citizens on Patrol members, and they had put in a request to do their role and function with the service. We went and we discussed at our level, and there are a number of similar programs that were operating in other jurisdictions that have recently been shut down. There's a lot of liability there, and they're using a police radio. They're privy to some information. I'm not sure that years ago when it was set up, they ever signed an oath of secrecy or anything like that. So, and just reflecting it and the fact that there's potential risk and exposure under the workplace safety insurance plan as well. We met with the program director and indicated our concerns about that. They're funded completely through the River District Board, and then funds, and then they report to us. So we advised them there were probably two options. We weren't prepared to move forward with them after having that discussion here at the board, and that they could seek funding directly and run it as a without it, or they could close that up. They had their annual membership meeting on December 17th, and then they voted at that time unanimously to retire the unit rather than seek changes to their structure. So December 18th is the date. They'll be having a gathering on December the 8th to recognize their time that they've spent, and we'll be giving out some certificates recognizing the volunteer hours doing it. And that will be the end of the Citizens on Patrol.
I don't understand how they could have had a meeting on December 17th when it's not been here yet.
Sorry, that should be
November.
no, it was actually
October,
it was
November?
November 31st, that's November the 17th.
November 17th.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
So we just got notified of that. Yeah, that's a typo. So. And that should be that they're ended as of November the 18th. Opposed to December the.
thank you. And the River District is aware of what the decision was?
That was sent to them, and it was part of the package that they had a meeting last night, I believe. They were right over it, and I wasn't able to attend the way.
Okay,
Now, have they asked for additional patrols in the River District as a result of cops? You know?
I don't know what happened last night.
Well, of course, yeah. Right, any other questions on cops retirement? Moving on to item F, board meeting dates for 2026. And again, these are tentative, but we need to get something in the calendar and maybe.
just a correction to the February 24 date, it should be February 25. Because that's Tuesday.
Okay. February 25.
Yeah.
Any other dates that cannot be made at this point in time?
Actually, February 24th.
25.
Sorry, 25th. Be available. I have the Information and Communication Technology Summit, the CACP.
Maybe that's why it got changed to 20.
No, it's tied up for a whole week.
Psychic. Psychic, you knew there was something going on. Do we want to change that date now?
But the week prior?
18th?
That should-
February will be the 18th,
Yes.
right?
Didn't see anything else that's infringe on anything up there. No, well, from what I know now, but that's,
Well, the 24th of June is my anniversary, but that's
oh, we'll be here to celebrate your anniversary then.
59 years.
Ooh,
Wow.
all right, and again, if we see a change, need a change to those dates, let us know ahead of time and we'll try and accommodate whatever change may be. And moving on to the item we added to the agenda, and it was talking. Oh, December
Meeting date.
The December meeting dates, I'm sorry. So it's currently on the 16th. No. Back here. Currently planned for the 17th. Last time we talked about doing it on the 16th. And that caused a conflict for you needed to be out at 12,
11:30.
11:30. They're already at 11:35 now.
Mhm.
And what about on the 15th? Did that cause issues or
Is that the Tuesday?
that's the Monday?
Monday.
The Monday. The council day, right?
The 15th, I'm out.
You're out now, okay.
Yeah,
Okay, well,
I prefer not the same as the council day.
and why did we say the 18th was out?
I'm not here.
No.
That's fine.
No, no,
So
that's a good
we
reason.
have your little reporter.
So it looks like the 16th was going to be it, and we were just talking about an early morning start, I think that's the last time.
I'm all in.
You're all in. That'll be the first day of the new, or first meeting of the new procedure. Where we'll have the open starting first thing and then going to closed and confidential close.
We start at 7, Mary, and you'll be out of here by 11.
Change it to the 15th.
Seven's good.
Yeah.
You're saying 16th.
Six- 16th, and do you want to do it at what, 8:30 or 8? 8?
That's next month,
That proves probably.
December 16th. Next meeting.
And if you wanted consistency.
We'll have to get consistent.
Is
2026.
Is the public recorded or live?
It's recorded on YouTube.
It's both. It's live.
So it's live stream right now,
8.
8 AM.
8 AM.
No. I went from 8:30 to 8, that's enough.
That's
Okay,
next meeting, right?
Yeah, and we'll try and get you ready here, lots of time to get your other meeting,
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
because it shouldn't be too big. Agenda.
we can let you go. We can let you go early.
5 minutes.
We just, well, there's 2 of them. We just barely have a quorum
Yeah.
left. That would be the only thing.
We should be able to get through it if you start at 8.
I would think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Now can I move on to the next?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. The item we added to the agenda talks about the board minutes that we send to council, and I think there was a discussion about whether we're sending too much or something like that. And Carol, did you want to speak to that issue?
First, thank you, Chair. It is absolutely critical that the public has easy access to the information that's provided. Obviously, it fits the mandate of being transparent and open to the public. There's important information our board shares about the volume of activity and just everything that the public really needs to be able to access. I originally brought this up because the city is currently looking at different committees, and consistency seems to be the phrase that we're hearing. a fair amount consistency in application. It prompted me to look at what we're receiving from other boards. We do get the minutes, but other boards don't add all of the detailed information. So the reason I'm bringing it forward is just to ask the board if this is something to continue doing, to be transparent and open, and even if it's not consistent with what other boards are doing. And the second part then is to ask if it is possible, if the board decides, yes, this is important, we're going to continue to have it, that we live link the reports to the actual agenda. So there's ease of reference. Right now, we scroll through and we have to keep scrolling through. And I don't know if technologically it's so that it's easier for the public to get down to the collision report by hitting the agenda item, and it takes them to the collision report. So 2 parts. Continue as we are, and everyone, council, public, get full information, rather than being concerned that it's not consistent with what other boards said. And second, technologically, are we able to make it easier to reference specific reports if individuals wish to just pull out that report data?
Mary?
My comments are you thinking of the advisory committees of council? Or are you thinking of outside?
Outside boards.
Outside
We have
boards?
library boards, we have
Mhm.
different boards where we get the minutes, and the counselor who sits on those boards has the responsibility to speak, bring the minutes forward and speak to the issues and answer the questions. So that other boards, that's responsibility. What we do is we send all of the reports in addition to the minutes. And I just wanted to ask the question, is this something that the board wish to continue? There are significant advantages on having it easily and readily available to council and to the public. On the other hand, all of this is on public website, correct? So that it's not as if it's not accessible, just like other boards have it accessible. I don't have a preference either way. I see some real benefits to the transparency of providing the data.
So my first question was, publicly, the agenda is posted with all of the attachments, correct? And when the minutes are posted, are the attachments again posted?
So a week before the meeting, the agenda is put on, and then once the minutes are approved, they're put on there with all of the attachments. And then for the minutes from the meeting that just happened, the draft minutes go up without the attachments, and then once they're approved, everything goes on there.
There's a requirement that under the CSPA that we have to post the agenda 7 days in advance, plus any topics that are coming up with it.
Right, I understand that. So for council's information, I don't see that you need to post all of the attachments. If they want to see the attachments, they can go to the public portion. However, I would ask under the item of the reports that more detail be provided under each of these reports. And then council maybe isn't looking for anything more than the basic details that the representative on council would present to council. Do you understand what I mean? Okay, like how many criminal things, it doesn't have to have a lot of detail, just a little paragraph summarizing some of the key points.
I'm just thinking
that-
the additional work that's required for that. Then you could hyperlink it to the report from there. Because to just try and glean the information to what level goes in there is a significant amount of work for Kayla. And she's gonna have more work on other issues that are coming up.
Okay,
Earlier in the conversation, I discussed how valuable the analytical part of those reports are. And that's where the advantage of the hyperlink or live link to the reports would be really, really helpful.
Can we do that? Hyperlink?
Think so.
Think so? Okay.
it's an attachment, basically,
Mhm.
the attachment to
Yeah,
that.
you just pull it up.
Yeah. so that if questions arise, or if it's just a click and it opens up for people to see.
Mhm.
It also would be extremely helpful, when the counselor who is sitting around that table providing the report has to answer something. It's also helpful. I think that would, then at least it's consistent with what we're getting, but it also allows easy access to the transparent information that not just council, but public, because public can access it in the same way.
Okay, so we can definitely do that, try the links on the report, and then when all we would, well, technically, we're giving them the minutes and all the attachments. We have to, in order to use the link. It has to link it to
This
somewhere,
City uses eScribe
right?
and we don't have that.
Yeah. So we would have to give you the whole report, and then in the minutes, there would be link there, and then it would go to the report afterwards. So you could still have the option of scrolling all the way through, or just using the.
Trust you to have the technical details worked out with these guys.
So
Yeah.
what I'm,
Because we don't use Scribe.
We don't.
so in this, you would have a link
Yes,
Mhm.
in the minutes to that report.
Yes.
That's sufficient.
or you could just scroll down all the way too, because it has to exist somewhere to link to.
It's like your the beginning of a book.
Yeah,
Tabletop.
Table
Table
of
of
contents.
contents.
It will be on the side, but it'll be a hyperlink in there, but you'll still have to have all of the reports attached.
Okay, so we're not accomplishing anything by doing that.
Not limiting what you,
We're not
No,
accomplishing the consistency.
because you're still gonna have to have all the reports attached, because we don't have eScribe.
No,
But you'll still be able to within, if you're wanting to go to the collisions, if you click the collisions, it will still take you to that report.
I do believe that having live would be helpful irrespective of whether all of the rest of
Okay.
the. But if technically, because you're working in a different system, it's not possible to just have the live link, then that pretty much answers the question about should we be consistent and not? Because it would appear that. we don't have that.
I don't have a 100% answer yet for you on that.
Okay.
So I can
So
look into
maybe-
it.
Maybe we could explore it further.
Mhm.
I'm trying to think what difference eScribe would be than providing the notes. The minutes, rather, sorry.
Think of the library board. We get a summary of the minutes. That's all.
And if you want to see that, then go to their website and look at it,
that's right.
Correct.
which is what. That could happen here as well.
I have had emails requesting for the reports because they weren't sent to certain, like to council members.
Yeah.
And they were requesting all of the reports to be attached.
Yeah.
Correct. Which is not consistent with what the report. I do understand the need to have that information readily available and transparent to council and
The
to
public,
the public. What I see as the potential issue to be resolved is technically, how can it happen without creating super? And because we don't want. So if it turns out that it's not possible, then the board simply continues sending the information and we're not consistent. Like the
well, I don't,
library board
when
is
we,
connected to eScribe either.
yeah, when we talk about consistency. Are we talking about consistency with other boards or with other committees?
Yeah, who are we being consistent for?
Other.
Okay, other boards, do other boards have the reporting requirement, like a CSPA act
No.
that they have to abide by?
And
So I
that's
think
the
we're
key.
different right off the bat.
And that's helpful. That is helpful to know what makes this board, what requires this board to send the fulsome information attached to the minutes.
Who's asking for consistency?
Because consistency is the theme that they're approaching around the whole council.
But I don't understand why, like,
I
for their
can't
own
answer-
satisfaction, like, is it just for staff?
I can't answer that. The issue about the minutes is not so much from the staff, that it opens up a fulsome conversation around. If they're looking at committee and board, all of the reporting structure, how minutes are presented and reported on is also part of that whole picture.
Yeah, but committees, like
Well, you can
all the
link to
committees have
report.
staff participation. We don't have staff here. We don't even
You're
have,
talking the advisory committees.
Yeah.
okay.
Oh, what, currently, with the committees, when the agendas are posted, you can link to the full report. That's not, it's there. But that's a city committee, not a community or a police board. So I think we need a few more answers around what's technically possible, and it may be that we just will need to consider continuing with the process as we have it.
Especially when they've asked us to provide them with the full reports
Yeah,
already.
I think
Yes,
we need to
yes.
wait till
We
the
see what
city
the-
conversation
Yeah.
on committee restructuring
Yeah.
is and go from there.
What I'm hearing is that both from a legislative point of view and from an openness and transparency point of view, that we're still keen to be able to provide the information as we've currently been doing it. And that's the point that I think
We're
need to be
required
clear.
to, right?
We
under the
are
act?
obligated to. See, that's important. And that is so helpful to have that frame of reference. However, in the investigation, if it's possible to live link, great. But if not, it's okay. We've at least explored that as an option.
Yeah, so I don't think anything needs to change until after that conversation is had.
Yeah, I'm comfortable saying for that to come
Sure.
to the table.
Right. But I think, what we need to do, we should go, going back to the, financial reports from the chief. Under 15. We skipped that. Wasn't written down, I didn't write it down. So we need to take a look at the updated budget, and did you want to speak to that briefly, Chris?
Mayor, and it was passed on my papers, handed out to you earlier. At the last open board meeting, the budget was approved, draft budget 2026. There's been some updates and some changes, and that number's gone down. And the increase, the proposed increase is now 7.49%. So as a result of that, I look for approval to change the draft budget to reflect the new numbers that have been provided to you earlier in this meeting.
Just a question, I just want to ask. So we approved a higher amount at previous board meeting. And if that, do we need an approval motion for it to go down?
To
Just
make a change to it.
motion for it to be revised.
Yeah, I don't know technically
I
whether you
think-
do or not, but certainly in the openness and.
Oh, we,
fairness,
actually, we,
want to make sure that we.
yeah,
The motion would effectively identify that the board is approving a 7.49 as opposed to the 8.35 previously.
well, we're canceling it at 8.35.
Right.
This motion. And do we call it a revised amount? And then the big question begs is then, do we have to explain why it's revised? Why it's revised and why, what impacts going from the 8 to the 7?
Well, I think it's based on further review of the budget.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, and basically the revision is the movement of some changes and delay of implementation.
Okay,
of
that's
those-
what we
of
need
those
to know.
changes, and, in an effort to try and bring it more in line with the actual.
Yeah, I just don't want it to seem like it was magically reduced from 8 to 7 type of thing, and there was reasons why it went down.
Presentation, you just say that there was additional information did come forward that we did not have at that
At time,
time of
yeah.
that decision.
At the time that it was originally put forward, we were hoping to have some people in place earlier in the year than we will now, and as a result. whether you call it salary gapping or what you wanna say, we won't have the replacements in time to put them in place. So therefore it was put in as a delay and,
It's dropping less than one. Even though we're going from.
So this is a more current reflection of the
Yeah.
actual budget going forward.
correct.
All right, so I have a motion to accept the revised 2026 budget at 7.49%.
Move it.
I'll second that.
Thanks, Mary. All in favor? Or you said it. All right. So back to the last item, number 18. Having completed all the items on the agenda, I'm going to terminate the meeting at 11:50.